Lamar Jackson doesn't have a contract extension. We've talked about that. But neither does Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield still, Rob, a report from The Athletic today says that they still have not offered Baker, their number one pick from 2018, a contract extension. Now, there's no rush for them. All right. They still have his fifth-year option next year. He's under contract through that. That goes through 2022. He gets over almost $19 million that year. And they can always, franchise tag him if they want to. So they don't seem to be worried about it, don't seem to be in a rush. They seem to want to see more. And he, has not really had a problem with where things are. I think he seems intent, Rob, and focused on just being better and getting better. And I'll give him credit. He hadn't really squawked a lot about the contract extension. He just seems to want to get out there and see what they can do. So that's where it is. But what do you think it says that they haven't offered him an extension at this point?
Well, I mean, he's been up and down. We've seen some bad Baker, but we've also seen some good. And last year, I think that they like what they saw. Obviously, won a playoff game, beating Pittsburgh. So I think they'll take it all in and want to see how this plays out. Was that an outlier? Was that a fluke? Was the stars aligned for him? Or is this him making that next move? And just like you said, they do have the option of putting a franchise tag if they want to get a little more of a look. If he was carrying around, I don't know, Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player, MVP, or something like that, then he would be signed by now. But he's right. Not that guy. So I think they're being a little cautious. And ultimately, why not? If he's a stud and they get to the AFC Championship game, then pay him. If he doesn't and things kind of fall backwards this year, you could look at him and go, well, maybe we don't want to do this. Maybe he regressed. We looked at last year's tape. Maybe some things went right for him, but he's not that guy. So I think that they're playing it smart because we've seen both good and bad.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I also think, look, Baker, as you said, he showed tremendous growth last year. And I don't blame them for not going ahead and, throwing the money at him just yet. Like, they got security. And now we know this, Rob, and it was proven with Dak. Remember when there was talk that the Cowboys, shouldn't even give him like $28 million a year?
Yeah, had there were a lot of people on that bandwagon, right?
Right. I mean, they could have got him for much, much cheaper. So, look, even if the guy's not a superstar, if he's a legitimate franchise quarterback, maybe top half of the league as far as quarterbacks, he's going to break the bank when he gets signed. And so on the one hand, Rob, we can say that, this will cost them because they're going to re-sign Baker Mayfield. And I'm fine with the way they're doing it.
No, but the longer you wait, the more money it costs you.
Right. And here's the other thing, Rob. Here's what Baker did last year. He led them to the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. He got them their first playoff win for the first time in 26 years. And there are, I'll say, explanations. I don't want to make excuses for him. But there are explanations for why he's been up and down. One of them, Rob, this is his fourth year in Cleveland. He's had 4 head coaches. And he's had 5 offensive coordinators.
That's a problem. It's just just a problem.
So what he showed last year was good for them, and it was good growth. And this is why I say no matter what, Rob, they're going to re-sign him. Because think about how long it's been since Cleveland had a decent quarterback. I mean, they had, in those 18 years that they missed the playoffs, take a guess how many, starting quarterbacks they had.
32.
Well, and I'm just going by their passing leaders for that season.
Oh.
They had 14 different ones. 14 in 18 years. Think about that.
I was thinking of a guy starting
Maybe a guy
game or
start
two
here or there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
right.
okay.
I'm sure it's more. It might be in the 20s or something like that. But you probably got to go back to Vinny Testaverde in the mid 90s, unless you're a fan of Tim Couch.
Who was the other guy in the 80s? Who was the guy with Sam Rutigliano?
Brian Sipe.
Was Brian
Kozar.
Bernie Kosar was.
Brian
I think
Sipe.
he was.
Those
back
guys
in
were
like
pretty
86.
good. So, yeah,
I covered a playoff game in Cleveland.
It was Kosar.
And it was
Bernie,
the
and
Jets.
he was good.
It was the Jets against the Browns in Cleveland, Chris. Freezing cold. Freezing.
That was Bernie Kosar, from Youngstown, Ohio, obviously played at Miami University in Florida. He was good. Then Testaverde replaced him, and he was good. And before Kosar, they had Brian Sipe, who was pretty good. So, back up to the mid 90s, they had some decent quarterbacks. But since then, it was tough sledding. So even if Baker's not a star, he's not Lamar Jackson, he's not Patrick Mahomes, he's not Josh Allen, whoever, he's still, as long as he doesn't regress tremendously this year, they're going to sign him. I mean, unless they could trade him for a better one, but I don't see that happening.
Here's also a stat that is why they're not rushing to the bank to withdraw their money. But since 2018, he's tied, actually, with Jameis Winston for the most interceptions, 44.
Right.
So he does that. Last year, also, Chris, during the stretch, he had 3 straight games where he had 0 touchdown passes. So we've seen the good and bad Baker, and I think that's why they want to take a look and say, let us just play this out, and if he's great, we'll just open up the bank and we'll pay him. If he's not,
that makes sense.
Maybe we dodged a bullet.
I do think that they understand it's going to cost them more money when, they do
but maybe
sign
it's
him.
worth the risk.
I think they're right. I agree. I think that's how they're feeling. I think they're saying, look, if he becomes what we think he can become, then it'll be worth it to pay him. And so I think that's exactly how they're looking at it. And you mentioned the interceptions. That's one of the things he improved on tremendously last year. He went from his second year, Rob, 22 touchdowns, 21 picks. That's like a Jameis Winston,
right, which is
everybody talks about Jameis.
Right. Jameis had 30 touchdowns, 33 and 30. Right.
And then last year he went to 26 touchdowns and 8 picks. So he showed a great deal of improvement. And as we talked before, and I first guessed this, Rob, he was better without OBJ. And I want to get there with you too. Where are you at? Like, OBJ is out this week again. It doesn't. He's at this point, Rob. Can you even call him a star?
You're not a star if you're not playing. So no, he's not a star. But the talent. If I'm them, I made a trade. I gave up something for him, right? And I want to make sure I exhaust him before I feel like this isn't going to work. So I need him healthy.
No, agreed.
And then I need to see him play. Last year, if you remember, Chris, I had the over-under on touchdowns for the year was 6.
Right.
And he had 4 in the first 3 games. Was it 4 or in the first 3 or 4 games? And then he got hurt. So let's see what he can do once he gets out on the field. And I think that'll determine what happens. If he's just another receiver out there and nothing special, it's been a while. So I understand why they would be a little concerned. It's been a while since he's been a star player.
Rob, he hasn't made the Pro Bowl since 2016. That's how long it's been.
That's a long, in the NFL, that's a long time. We're talking going on 5 seasons.
Yep, but he's still a very talented player. And I think the key is, and I do think Baker now, it's his team, at least, from the offensive side, even though they're a running team. He should have the stature that I just felt like he had to, Not in a negative way. Like, I don't think OBJ was pressuring him to get him the ball and complaining and all that. But I just think OBJ was such a big personality and a celebrity, if not a star, that Baker felt like he had to get him to rock. And so I think he forced it to him, and it didn't help him. And so last year when OBJ was gone, after he got hurt, he was able to just throw to the open man, and you saw him flourish. So that's going to be interesting, though, when OBJ does come back, what happens with him and Baker Mayfield. All right.